For 5 years, industry critics dismissed Toyota as a hybrid-only company, falling behind in the race to electric. Then Toyota launched the BZ5, a fastback electric crossover with 268 horsepower and 630 kilometers of range, priced at roughly $18,000, less than half of what a base Tesla Model Y costs in China. Nothing about that price came from cutting corners. It came from a calculated strategy almost nobody saw coming. You won't believe how Toyota actually pulled this off. This price doesn't mean the car is stripped down. Here's exactly what's inside it, in hard numbers rather than marketing language. Start with the body. The BZ5 measures roughly 4,780 millimeters long, 1,866 millimeters wide, and 1,510 millimeters tall, on a wheelbase just under 2,880 millimeters. Line those figures up against a Tesla Model Y and they're nearly identical, a genuine mid-size crossover, not a shrunken economy car with a sloped fastback roofline and full-width lighting pulled from an earlier Toyota concept vehicle. That detail matters more than it sounds like it should, because it means this design wasn't rushed together in a few months to react to the market. It had already been sitting on the shelf, ready to go the moment the business case made sense. Now the numbers under the skin, the ones that actually matter. A front-mounted electric motor produces around 200 kilowatts, roughly 268 horsepower, and 330 newton-meters of torque, built not by Toyota, but by BYD's own powertrain subsidiary. Buyers choose between two battery packs, a 65.28 kilowatt-hour version rated for 550 kilometers of range on China's test cycle, or a larger 73.98 kilowatt-hour pack that stretches that to 630 kilometers. Plug into a fast charger, and the BZ5 goes from 30 to 80% in about 27 minutes. Quick enough for a coffee break, not a lunch break. Step inside and the story keeps going. There's a large central touch screen, a fully digital instrument cluster, and 9 standard airbags, including side curtain airbags that run the entire length of the cabin. Higher trims add an advanced driver assistance system co-developed with a Chinese AI partner called Momenta, drawing on up to 33 sensors and an optional roof-mounted LiDAR unit, the kind of sensor suite you'd expect on a car costing twice as much. Put all of that together, and this isn't a compromise in any single meaningful category. It's not slower, it's not smaller, it's not less connected, and it's arguably not even less safe than cars costing $20,000 more. That's the part that should genuinely worry Toyota's competitors, not the price tag by itself, but the fact that the price tag came with almost nothing sacrificed to reach it. This isn't Toyota's first attempt at this market either. The BZ5 is the third model in its electric lineup, following an earlier sedan and a compact crossover, and it's landing directly against some of China's toughest domestic competition, including the Leapmotor C10 and the Deepal S07, alongside the Model Y itself. For a sense of how fast this segment moves, a similarly priced EV from a Nissan joint venture in China launched only months earlier and reportedly pulled in more than 17,000 firm orders within its first month on sale. That's the kind of appetite waiting for any legacy automaker willing to actually compete on price instead of coasting on brand name alone. Toyota just proved it's willing to do exactly that. So how did Toyota hit this price without gutting the spec sheet? The honest answer is that it stopped trying to out-engineer BYD on batteries and started buying from BYD instead. The BZ5 is built and sold through Toyota's joint venture with a major Chinese automaker, a structure that matters more than it sounds. It lets Toyota manufacture specifically for the Chinese market, sourcing local components, negotiating local supplier pricing, and building on Chinese soil under Chinese labor and material costs, instead of importing a global platform designed for Japan or the US. and absorbing the markup on every single unit. The most important local supplier they brought into that structure was BYD. The car itself rides on Toyota's own modular EV platform, the same architecture underpinning the brand's global electric push, which gives it Toyota's usual engineering DNA: high structural rigidity, a low center of gravity for stable, predictable handling, and battery placement engineered around Toyota's typically conservative, almost obsessive safety philosophy. But the battery pack itself and the motor spinning the front wheels come straight out of BYD's ecosystem. Sit with what that actually means for a second. Toyota didn't spend a decade and untold billions of dollars trying to reverse engineer battery chemistry that BYD has already spent more than 15 years perfecting, at a scale nobody else on the planet can currently match. Instead, Toyota did the pragmatic thing. It bought the best, cheapest, safest battery technology available on the open market and wrapped its own chassis tuning, ride quality, and decades of accumulated brand trust around it. Two rivals, one Japanese, one Chinese, each dominant in a completely different discipline, joining forces to build something neither company could have priced this aggressively alone. Now zoom out, because this stops being about one car in one country and starts being about who actually wins this decade. Start with the money, because the money tells the real story. In its most recent fiscal year, Toyota posted net income of roughly $25.4 billion. Tesla's full-year net income over the same period landed at around $3.8 billion. That's not a rounding error. Toyota is generating something close to 6 times Tesla's profit. Off the back of a business a huge chunk of the media had already written off as just hybrids. That's the real engine sitting underneath all of this. Hybrids aren't a side business for Toyota. They're the cash machine, quietly funding everything else the company is doing in electric. Toyota sold a record 10.8 million vehicles worldwide last year, extending its run as the world's best-selling automaker to 6 consecutive years running. That kind of volume throws off enormous free cash flow every single quarter, cash that can comfortably absorb an $18,000 loss leader EV in China without blinking, while a pure EV startup running the same playbook would be back on the phone with investors, begging for another funding round just to keep the lights on. Subscribe if you want to know when the next major shift hits the global auto market. Then there's reach. Toyota's production network and more than 14,000 dealerships span over 170 countries, physical, logistical infrastructure that took roughly 70 years to build, brick by brick. That means once Toyota's electric lineup is genuinely ready to scale globally, the company can put cars in front of buyers on nearly every continent almost overnight, sidestepping the delivery delays, service center shortages, and charging infrastructure headaches that have dogged newer EV brands trying to build that same network from a standing start. Layer brand trust on top of that. Decades of reliability, cheap maintenance, and strong resale value mean the cautious first-time EV buyer, the one still nervous about going electric, still worried about battery degradation or resale value 5 years down the line, is far more likely to take that leap wearing a familiar badge than an unfamiliar one. That psychological comfort is worth more in a mass market sale than almost any spec on a sheet. And then there's the card Toyota hasn't even played yet: solid-state batteries. The company is publicly committed to commercializing the technology in the 2027 to 2028 window, targeting full charges in roughly 10 minutes and driving ranges pushing past 1,200 kilometers on a single charge. If that timeline holds even loosely, it doesn't just close the gap with BYD and Tesla on battery performance, it could leapfrog both of them entirely, turning today's charging time anxiety into a complete non-issue. Add it all up, and Toyota's supposed slowness starts looking a lot less like falling behind and a lot more like patience, a company generating roughly 6 times the profit of its flashiest competitor, quietly stacking infrastructure, brand equity, and next-generation battery technology while everyone else was busy writing its obituary. To be fair, this isn't a free lunch for Toyota either. China's EV price war has been brutal on everyone's margins, and Toyota itself has projected its own profitability sliding as it fights for share there, with several legacy automakers actually posting losses in that market over the past year. An $18,000 crossover is not a high-margin product, no matter who builds it. But that's exactly why the strategy is so effective. Toyota can afford to treat the BZ5 as a loss leader, a way to plant its flag and build real manufacturing muscle memory in China's EV market, while its hybrid profits back home absorb the hit. Tesla doesn't have that same luxury. Every Model Y Tesla sells has to carry its own weight, because Tesla doesn't have a 10 million unit hybrid business quietly subsidizing the fight underneath it. The BZ5 proves something this industry has needed proof of for years. Electric cars don't have to be a luxury flex reserved for the wealthy, and they don't have to be a compromise for everyone else either. Tesla lit the spark that started this entire shift, and nothing here takes that credit away from them. But it might genuinely be Toyota's boring, relentless, spreadsheet-driven pragmatism that ends up putting electric cars into the hands of the billions of people who were never, ever going to pay $40,000 for one. So here's the real question worth sitting with. Was this the plan all along? A decade-long, deliberate step back designed to leap forward later? Or did Toyota simply get bailed out by BYD's battery technology showing up at exactly the right moment? Drop a comment and let us know what you think.